Section 23 of Journal of the Reverend Francis Asbury, Volume 2. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Brian Keenan. Saturday 22. My soul enjoys peace, but oh, for more of God. This campaign has made me groan, being burdened. Bad news on my coming to the mountains. Neither preachers nor elders have visited Swanino since last October. Poor people, poor preachers that are not more stable. But all flesh is grass, and I am grass. I have provided brothers G and L for the westward. I wrote a plan for stationing, and desired the dear preachers to be as I am in the work. I have no interest, no passions in their appointments. My only aim is to care and provide for the flock of Christ. I see I must not leave Charleston till the 3rd or 4th week in March. Then the rains will subside, and the creeks and rivers be passable, and so shall we escape the danger of drowning ourselves and horses. I feel that my sufferings have been good preaching to me, especially in crossing the waters. I am solemnly moved in not visiting my Holstein and Kentucky brethren. It may be their interest to desire the preservation of my life. While living, I may supply them with preachers, and with men and money. I feel resolved to be wholly the Lord's, weak as I am. I have done nothing, I am nothing, only for Christ, or I had long since been cut off as an unfaithful servant. Christ is all, and in all I do, or it had not been done, or when done, had by no means been acceptable. North Carolina, Sunday, 23. My subject at Justice White's was Hebrews 2, 1-3. I had more people than I expected. I have visited this place once a year, but Mr. K and L have both failed coming at all. I pity them and the people. If I could think myself of any account, I might say, with Mr. Wesley, if it be so while I am alive, what will it be after my death? I have written several letters to the westward to supply my lack of service. I am mightily wrought upon for New Hampshire, province of Maine, Vermont, and Lower Canada. Saturday 29. Started for Nolanton's and came part of the way alone. After winding about the creeks and hills, came to a cabin. Here I found a few serious people, to whom I preached on 1 Timothy 4:8, after which I spent the evening with dear brother S. in his clean cabin. Sunday 30. After riding about 5 miles, I came to a meeting house. It was a cabin half-floored, with long open windows between the logs. Monday 31. I had the house filled with serious people, and found much to say on Ruth 1:16-17. Whatever weight there might have been in the discourse, I was happy in my own soul. Tuesday, April 1. I was very happy whilst riding alone down to Dr. Brown's. On my way I saw Babel, the Baptist Methodist house, about which there has been so much quarreling. It is made of logs, and is no great matter. I am astonished at professors, old professors, neglecting family and private prayer. Lord help, for there is but little genuine religion in the world. Wednesday 2. Came to E.'s meeting house near Hunting Creek, in Surrey County. Here I met with some old disciples from Maryland, Delaware, and Virginia, who have known me these 22 years. Our meeting was attended with mutual pleasure. My soul enjoyed much sweetness with these people. There has been some trouble amongst them, but I know God is with them. I was secretly led to treat on sanctification at W's, and if the Lord will help me, I am resolved to speak more on this blessed doctrine. After preaching, I came to Cokesbury School at Hardy Jones. It is 20 feet square, 2 stories high, well set out with doors and windows. This house is not too large, as some others are. It stands on a beautiful eminence and overlooks the lowlands and River Yadkin. Monday 7. I set out alone, and missing my way, got entangled in the bush and thickets, and made it about 20 miles. Although it was a trial to me, it might be intended to prevent the poor people from being disappointed, who came late. I had the pleasure of dining and drinking tea with the Moravian minister, who has the charge of the congregation at Muddy Creek. Next day I called at Salem. I rode 20 miles to Levin Ward's, on the headwaters of Dan River, Stokes County. I was greatly fatigued, but having no appointment to preach, after a good night's rest, I was much refreshed. Having little opportunity of being alone, I wandered into the field for solitude. I met with P.S. from Old Lynn, a child of Providence. After passing solemn scenes at sea, he was taken and left in the lowlands of North Carolina. First a Christian, then a preacher. He was stationed in Guilford, but offered himself a volunteer for Swanino, which station hath been vacant nearly 6 months, one of the preachers appointed there being sick, and the other married. And now, because I have power to send a preacher to these poor people, some are pleased to account me and call me a despot. Friday, 11. I went to Simpson's house. I was greatly chilled and unable to preach. The house was very open, but Brother B sounded away bravely. It appeared as if my fingers were nearly frozen. I went home with Brother C and had everything comfortable. Saturday, 12. I had a small congregation, but a good time with some feeling souls at Brother J's on my choice subject, Hebrews 3:12. We have rumors of war with England. But the Lord reigneth, although the earth be so much disquieted. I spent the evening with Brothers B and S. I was in the clouds on Sunday, 13. My body was full of pain, and my mind much dejected. I came through Rockingham and saw my old friends, lodged with Father Lowe, who is 76 years of age, and happy in God. Monday, 14. Brother Sands set out for Swanino. Had I ventured to Kentucky, how should I have stood the wilderness, with 4 or 5 days of such cold, rainy weather as we have lately had? I was thankful to God that I changed my course. I feel wholly devoted to God, and greatly wish to see more fruit of my labor. Friday, 18. I rose early, crossed Pudding Creek, Bannister, and Bearskin, and came to Brother C's, 5 miles from Pittsylvania Courthouse. I met with my old friends Jones and W.D., and had a comfortable meeting. Virginia, Monday, 21. Rode with Brothers B and M, who met me the day before, to Brother Landrum's, and gave them a short sermon. I was happy in the company of the dear preachers. O my soul, trust thou in the Lord. O for Zion's glory. Come, Lord Jesus, come quickly. Wednesday, 23. I attended the funeral of R.O., who, I learn, died of a consumption, in the fear and love of God. I was too systematical for my congregation, who were wild and unawakened. I baptized a few children, then crossed Symes Ferry, and came 12 miles to Brother Spencer's in Charlotte County. Here, report saith, that there is sad work with those who have left us, and who are now exerting themselves to form as strong a party as they can. The principal of these are J.O.K., E.A., J.K., and J.C. I learn by a letter from J. Ellis that matters are not desperate. This letter, with some others, I shall reserve for a future day. If the real cause of this division was known, I think it would appear that one wanted to be immovably fixed in a district, another wanted money, a third wanted ordination, a fourth wanted liberty to do as he pleased about slaves, and not to be called to an account, etc. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday I spent in private application. Sunday, 27. I had a crowded congregation at Reeves Chapel. Those who had just left us appeared very shy. I was very unwell, and said but little on the division. I told them how long I had been in the country, how I had labored, and what I had gained. After all, we shall see what the end of all this work will be. Wednesday, 30. I preached, though not of choice, at Charlotte Courthouse. Here Mr. Blank met me, and charged me with saying at Blank that they would take off my head. I told him I did not remember to have said so, but if I did, I must certainly have meant the episcopacy of our church. He answered that in that I was very right. He strove to do it with all his might. Yet he talked of union, and hoped I would do my part. At what? Why, to destroy. First the episcopacy and then the conference, or at least its power and authority. I went to Major R's and was treated very kindly. Saturday, May 3. I had a serious congregation and a good meeting at C's. Came to Pride's Church in Amelia County, where there are no very great prospects. I was at the kind widow C's on Appomattox River, thence to Brother H's, where I was attended by brothers F, M, B, T, and W. I learn I am set forth as an enemy to the country, that I am laying up money to carry away to England or elsewhere. But in the midst of all, I bless God for peace in my spirit. Let them curse, but God will bless, and his faithful preachers will love and pity me. Friday, 9. After preaching at S's chapel on Peter's denial, I rode to Brother G's, 20 miles. My mind was heavy, my body weak and feeble. Oh, that I had in the wilderness a lodging place. I ordained Brother G and baptized his son Philip. A dreadful rumor followed me from last Sabbath. I felt humble and thankful that I could suffer. I think more of religion now than ever. O my God, I am thine. Glory to Christ forever. Monday, 12. Rode 40 miles to S's, and preached the next day. But it seemed as if my discourse had almost as well have been Greek. Such spiritual death prevails among the people. After preaching, brothers H. B. W. and myself rode to Brother W.'s in Campbell County. I preached in the courthouse at New London, where I had a large, serious, and polite congregation. I dined with my old friend, countryman, and neighbor, Joseph Perkins, who is superintendent of the armory. In this county, Bedford, there are 13 societies of Methodists, 3 or 4 of which are large. There are about 10 local preachers who labor for Christ and souls. Saturday and Sunday, 17 and 18. Was quarterly meeting at Wilson's chapel. The first day I gave place to Brother B. Sabbath day, after sacrament and love feast, I preached on Revelations 3:20. The people within were serious. Those without had their own talk and entertainment. I kept the Sabbath in the crowd in the best manner I could. I came off under rain and clouds to a town called Liberty, and preached in the courthouse, but did not find freedom to eat bread or drink water in that place. Why should I receive aught from those who renounce my service? I went to friend S's, who has a godly wife, and was kindly entertained. I wish to serve the Methodists who can hear with candor, but I am not fond of preaching at places where the prejudices of the people run so high. Tuesday, 20. I had about 150 hearers at Edson's, and had liberty in preaching. Brothers M and B assisted me. My soul is in peace and perfect love. I purpose to preach present conviction, conversion, and sanctification. I might do many things better than I do, but this I discover not till afterward. Christ is all to my soul. If my labors are not blessed, yet my soul shall rejoice in the Lord and be blessed. Thursday, 22. Came to M on the Mill Creek, in Botertorts County, where I was met by Brother I.E., who assisted me next day in preparing the minutes. Saturday, 24. Preached at Fincastle, and had a very few to hear, except our own people. Came the same evening to E.M.'s, where we were to hold our conference. Here I met the brethren from Kentucky, and received a number of letters. Sunday, 25. I was enabled to preach a searching discourse to near 1,000 souls on Isaiah 52:8. Monday, 26. We were closely employed in the business of the conference. Wednesday, 28. We went over the mountain to Rockbridge County. We crossed the north branch of James River, half a mile from the town of Lexington, dined at the Red House, and came to Mr. F's on the south branch of Shenandoah. Thence I urged my way by Stanton through the rain, without any boots, and having sold my oilcloth a few days before, I was wet from head to foot. My mind is in peace, waiting till my change come, hanging on Jesus for everlasting rest. We have a valuable house here, Newtown, and 3 local preachers. At Charlestown, a good house and 1 local preacher. I feel as though it would be a long time before I go through this country again. For some days I have had an inflammatory complaint in my ear. It is now removed into my mouth. I spent Monday 26th and Tuesday 27th at Brother Blank's, and was very much indisposed. Came to Winchester. Here is a good meeting house. I had many to hear my very feeble testimony on Romans 5:10. Dr. Blank made a gargle of rose leaves, nitra, and spirits of vitriol, which was of use to my throat. I came on Thursday to J. H.'s, and employed Brother A. to preach, my throat continuing very bad. I found my mind greatly resigned to the will of God under my affliction. Sick, wet, and weary, I found a comfortable retreat in the house of R. Hampson. I have not been so thoroughly soaked in 2 years. I think I have need of a leathern coat that will stand all weathers. I got 2 men to canoe me across the river. They brought me over safe, and appeared to be satisfied with $0.25 each. Saturday was an awful day to me. My ear was exceedingly painful. Sunday, June 1. I ventured to the church in the rain, and bore a feeble testimony for nearly an hour on 2 Peter 1:4. It was with difficulty I could attend the conference, my throat and passage to the ear being inflamed, and I had also a chill and high fever. We had preaching morning, noon, and night, and had peace and consolation in our deliberations. On the last day of the conference I delivered a discourse on 1 Corinthians 1:5, and we concluded with a solemn sacrament. I next came to Shenandoah County. We have had awful rains for about 2 weeks. To these I have been exposed in my afflicted state. Sunday, 8. Preached at Newtown, little notice being given, and few people attending. Monday, 9. Rested at Brother Phelps. My mind is in peace, but I feel the spiritual death of the people. They are not what they were in religion. I am now on the head branches of Opequon. I stopped a while at J. H.'s and then came on to Shepherdstown. It was a very instructing time to me. I cannot pretend to preach, yet I talk a little to the dear people, who flock to see and hear me by hundreds. I hope to be as much resigned to a life of affliction as a life of health, and thus may I be perfect in love and wholly crucified with Christ. I concluded, after my high fever and my being forced to bed, that it was out of the question for me to attempt to speak. But when I saw the people coming on every side, and thought, this may be the last time, and considered I had not been there for nearly 5 years, I took my staff, faintly ascended the hill, and held forth on 1 John 1:6-7, and felt strengthened, having a clear view of the Word of God. After meeting we administered the sacrament, and I then returned to my bed. I preached at Fredericktown, rode to Liberty. When I came there, I was so faint, and my strength so spent, that I felt as if I could by no means attempt to preach. But after Brother R. had sung a hymn and prayed, I made a feeble attempt on Galatians 1:11-12. Maryland, Tuesday, 17. I rode 23 miles to the Stone Chapel, where I preached on Peter's denial of his Lord. Wednesday, 18. I once more came to Baltimore, where, after having rested a little, I submitted to have my likeness taken. It seems they will want a copy. If they wait longer, perhaps they may miss it. Those who have gone from us in Virginia have drawn a picture of me, which is not taken from the life. We called a meeting at Cokesbury, and made some regulations relative to the salaries of the teachers, and the board of the students. I returned to Baltimore, and spent Sabbath day 22nd there, and found the people but dull. Brother M.C. took his stand at the windmill between town and point. My soul was quickened whilst applying these words, "Every knee shall bow, of things in heaven, things on earth, and things under the earth, and every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father." I was grieved to find the hearts of the people so cold in religion. The world is a thief, stealing the heart from God. Monday, 23. Set out for Philadelphia. Spent a day at college. Wednesday, 25. I reached J.H.'s, very unwell with bodily infirmities, but I found Christ with me. Next day we breakfasted with Brother M. at Newport, dined at Chester, and preached in the evening at Philadelphia, after riding 40 miles. I was weak and heavy in body and soul. I spent Friday in writing to my brethren in various parts who called for my advice. Pennsylvania, Sunday, 29. I preached at the new African Church. Our colored brethren are to be governed by the doctrine and discipline of the Methodists. We had some stir among the people at Ebenezer. In the evening we had a cold time at the great church on Amos 4:11. This has been a hard day's work. New Jersey, Monday, 30. I rode to Trenton, an exceedingly warm day, and preached in the evening. We rode to Kingston, thence to Brunswick, thence to Bonhamtown, and were weary enough when we got to Mr. B.'s. Poor Brother S. almost fainted, and went, outdone, to bed. Came to Elizabethtown, and was grieved at the conduct of some of the preachers. Oh, how careful should each one be, lest he become a stumbling block and destroy precious souls. As I cannot help, so neither am I to answer for other men's sins. Wednesday, July 2. I gave them a close discourse on 2 Corinthians 7:1. I had 4 Methodist and 1 Presbyterian minister to hear me, and we had some life in our souls. Thursday, 3. Came faint and weary to Powell's Hook, and felt my mind solemn and devoted to God. Thence crossed over to New York, and found my friends kind and full of the world. New York, Friday, 4. Was the anniversary of independence. I preached on 2 Peter 3:20-21, wherein 1. I showed that all real Christians had escaped the pollutions of the world. 2. That it is possible for them to be entangled therein again and overcome. 3. That when this is the case, they turn from the holy commandments delivered unto them. 4. That the last state of such is worse than the first. For God is provoked, Christ slighted, the Spirit grieved, religion dishonored, their understanding is darkened, the will is perverted, the conscience becomes insensible, and all the affections unmoved under the means of grace. They keep the wisdom of the serpent, but lose the harmlessness of the dove. At dinner Mr. P. spoke a word in favor of Mr. G., who was once with us, as also he had been. This brought on an explanation of matters. My answer was, 1. That I did not make rules, but had to execute them. 2. That anyone who desired me to act unconstitutionally either insulted me as an individual or the conference as a body of men. I hardly know sometimes where to set my foot. I must be always on my guard, and take heed to what I say of and before anyone. Lord, make me upright in heart and life before Thee and all men. Sunday, 6. My mind was much agitated about trifles. I preached in the morning on Hebrews 13:12, and we had a little move at the sacrament. At 3 I preached in the new house, and again in the evening at the old house, and gave a close exhortation to the society. Monday, 7. Came to Berrien's near Kingsbridge, and thence to the White Plains, and dined with Lawyer H., a member of our society. I preached at Chester Courthouse to about 100 people. Here are some living, gracious souls. Came in the evening to King Street. I am not conscious of having sinned, but I feel the infirmities of flesh and blood, and am in continual heaviness through manifold temptations. We had a sultry afternoon, and a rough ride over the rocks and hills to Bedford, where I had a feeble time in the town house, on the fall of Peter. I was sick, sore, tempted, and grieved, and bade Bedford farewell. Connecticut, Thursday 10. Came to Norwich, 16 miles, thence to Fairfield, 12 miles, and in the evening reached Poconack, making nearly 40 miles, in very great debility of body. End of section 23. Recording by Brian Keenan.